on, guys? Welcome back. And today, I'm going to be talking about Toy Story 4. Now, I am still continuing my re-review series to Spider-Man Far From Home. But today, I saw Toy Story 4 last night, Saturday night, at, the drive-in. And, at a drive-in near where I live. And, I think it's a great movie. Um, it's really hard for me to talk about because, I, like everyone else, thought that Toy Story 3 was the perfect ending for the Toy Story series. And I still do think that. And this movie was actually kind of exactly what I was worrying it was going to be, but it does a good job at being what it is, if you understand what I mean. Because I think Pixar has kind of gone into this era where they just make fun movies that are fun and just not kids movies generally, but that are just not, they don't have the same spark of the original films that they made. And I think this kind of continues that trend, but it does a better job of being what it is. Like, I think Incredibles 2 tried too hard being that, and I gave Incredibles 2 an A minus. I really enjoyed that movie the first time, and I've only seen it once, but I've thought more about it, and I really dislike that film. I think it's really bland, recycles a lot of stuff from the original film, and this wasn't the case with Incredibles 2, where everyone was concerned about Incredibles 2 being like a nothing movie. Since it's been 14 years, and we're like, it's been 14 years since the first film. I don't really care, because I never grew up with The Incredibles. Toy Story, however, has been a franchise that I have grown up with for years, and it's been like a franchise that means a lot to me. So I cared more about this film than I did about Incredibles 2, and I still don't really care about the Incredibles franchise. It's just not something I ever grew up with. I know I'm gonna get criticism for that, but I just don't really care about the Incredibles franchise. It's not something that I ever really cared about, but this film is very good. It's really funny, it's a fun little adventure, and I think it's an interesting tone, it's an interesting story style to go for. I didn't write any notes down, so I'm just going off of memory, but I really loved all the new additions to the cast. The original cast, there's going to be a lot of people that are kind of mad about the fact that the original characters, other than Buzz, I guess, are pretty much sidelined, like Jessie, Rex, all the original toys, and even the new Bonnie toys. They're basically sidelined the entire time. There's going to be a lot of people that are mad about that. That didn't really bother me. Um, it just wasn't something that really bothered me at all, because it's an interesting style they went for, where usually, like, I think that Toy Story 3 really was a story about all the toys. Like, you got a lot of Mrs. Potato Head, you got a lot of the characters in that one, and that's what I really liked about that film, was it kind of showed them all working together, trying to get out of Sunnyside, and all that, and Toy Story 3 is still my favorite in the franchise. If I had to rank them, I think I would go Toy Story 3, Toy Story 2, Toy Story 4, and then Toy Story 1. Um, like I say, I think Toy Story 1 is a classic, but I think I like this one just a tad bit more. But it's an interesting style to go for, where they kind of just go back and forth between the fair, the carnival, and the carnival, yeah, and the carnival and the antique shop, and they just kind of go back and forth. And it's not like a long adventure. It's just they're kind of in one place for a majority of the film, which is kind of an interesting style to go for. That didn't I'm not gonna say it didn't work for me, but it just kind of felt weird. Um, I really enjoyed all the new additions to the cast, but once again, they kind of had a lot of moments to shine, and then kind of went on the back burner. Like, Forky was great, and then he just kind of disappeared for the entire last quarter of the movie. Same with Ducky and Bunny. I was really nervous because when they showed that first clip, like in November last year of them, I didn't think they were going to be in the movie. And then when they were going to be in the movie, and I was like, I am not going to be able to stand these guys. I was wrong, guys. They were the funniest part of the movie. They were like my favorite new additions, I think. And then Keanu Reeves as Duke Kaboom, he was great too. Like, all the new little additions to the cast, they added a lot of comedic value, and I really appreciated them. Uh, yeah, it is a very funny movie, but I think that I'm not going to entirely say that I think it's the funniest one in the franchise. I'm not going to say that necessarily. I think there's a lot of clever lines in there. Like, there was one, I forgot what it was, but there was a line with Rex towards the beginning of the movie that I thought was actually really clever, and I forgot what it was, but no one laughed at that, but it really stood out to me. Um, as being a pretty clever joke. But there's some other pretty clever humor, but it is really a story about Woody, and it's a character study about Woody and Bo Peep, really, and it's quite interesting to see. Bo Peep is also not a new addition to the cast, but is a great addition to the cast from the original films, and he's definitely a step up, I think. They really developed those two characters in that relationship, and just that character in general make her much more interesting and a very cool character as well. So I really enjoyed seeing that. There's in terms of like callbacks to the original film, the one that stood out to me the most is at the beginning when Woody is helping Bonnie, cope with school, and then he hides in like the lunchbox or whatever, which is just like in Toy Story 1 when he's underneath the. He and Buzz are underneath like the little like food cups trying to sneak into Pizza Planet. That's the one callback that stood out to me. Let me know if there's any other ones that you spotted. But yeah, that was pretty cool. Um, and then at the end of the movie, in the credits, those two guys who were stuck on the front of the garbage truck with Lotso in Toy Story 3 were there. So I was hoping they were going to do something with Lotso, but Lotso didn't show up. I want to know what's going on with Sunnyside. Like, I was hoping in the credits they'd address Sunnyside, because, Barbie and Ken are still there at Sunnyside, so I was hoping they'd address what happened to them. Um, in terms of things, that negatively I didn't really like, it's a weird movie to me where there's nothing particularly wrong with it, and it's a very good movie. But it's just, like I say, the structuring of it is really weird where it's in this one place, and I don't know if it worked for me or if it didn't. I don't really know. Um, I don't really know if it did or didn't work for me. Like, it's a movie that I'm really having trouble wrapping my head around. Like I say, I think it's a very fun movie. It's a heartwarming. In terms of like tearing up, I didn't really tear up at all, which is kind of disappointing because like the emotions are felt, and there are like a lot of moments where it slows down. Then I feel like even like I don't think that necessarily the humor takes over the joke, which some people criticize in the film. Um, I think the movie's so fast, or well, that's the thing that I like about Toy Story 3 is that it's so fast, but it never lets the emotions like not sink in. With this one, I feel like they don't really let them sink in. It's like, okay, Woody's staying behind, and then suddenly it's like, oh, who's watching the truck? And they have to get back in the van, and then they just leave. And it's like, okay, like, that it's just it just kind of stood out to me, like watching it. That part of it just felt like they kind of rushed through it. It's like, okay, like I knew it's a little predictable too. Like the second Gabby or whatever the doll showed up, she's like, oh, I want the voice box, and then she looked over at the kid. I was like, okay, so she wants the voice box, so she can go with the kid. And then when the kid picked her up at the end, I was like, oh yeah, she's gonna drop her on the ground. So the villain was kind of predictable. I didn't expect her to get an owner, like to find the one girl in the fair. I didn't expect that, but I predicted her whole motive from the first scene she was in, and she said she wanted the voice box. Um, at the same time, I predicted that Woody was gonna. The second he said like I don't have anything left, and like he doesn't have his pull string voice box anymore, I knew that he was gonna stay with Bo, and I'm actually happy for Woody that he stayed behind. And they're taking care of all the toys. Although there was a really weird line with Ducky and Bunny where they say, uh, we were like they're mad at Buzz because he took their top prize spot, and they're like, we've been hanging up here for 3 years trying to get people to whatever buy us or whatever, and then but later on they say the fair's packing up tomorrow, so by 3 years you mean every year they come back here, so it's not technically been like that long. It's just like a few like the usual fair just goes on for like I guess not even a month really, like a weekend. So like you mean every year? Like the way they make it sound dramatic is like 3 years, but it's like you're only here for like a few days every year, right? So for you it would be like 3 days every year. Like I don't know. Like that line just really. After I thought about it after the movie, I was like, that's a really weird line. Um, that just really confused me. Just thinking about that. That's like a negative, I guess. Um, I don't know. It's a weird movie. Like I really enjoyed it. Um, and it's a movie that I'm really glad exists. But like if I'm ever watching the original ones, I'm not saying I want to ignore this one, but I still think Toy Story 3 ends the original series. Like if they want to, I think they could go for a Toy Story 5 and a Toy Story 6 and make like a new trilogy, like a Toy Story, like a new trilogy of Toy Story movies, like with Toy Story 4, 5, and 6, and then like without Woody, I guess, and Jesse's like the new sheriff or whatever they want to do with that. Um, so they could do that if they wish, but like it just kind of it's a weird spot to be in. Uh, like with the franchise, like I feel like they could make more if they wanted. Like Forky, like I think the moment that actually got the most emotion out of me was when there was the girl Forky at the end, and then he's like, "I'm gonna explain everything" or whatever, and he's like, "No," they're like, "I'm trash," and he's like, "No, you're a toy. We're all toys," and then that actually almost made me tear up because I was like, "Oh, he's learned something from Woody," you know. And that actually was really touching to me. That he actually learned something from Woody, and now he's being kind of the caretaker of, I guess, this new toy. You know, I just that really that was actually the kind of sentimental moment that really stood out to me the most in the film. So, I don't want this review to go on for too long, but because the movie was actually pretty short. Also, another thing that was kind of weird to me was like they say at the beginning it says 9 years earlier, and then it shows Bo Peep gets like leaves in like this box or whatever because they're getting rid of her or whatever. Um, and then Woody has to stay behind to take care of Andy. But the really weird thing to me was like it says 9 years before, but then it like kind of flashes through him playing with the toys and then suddenly playing with the toys with Bonnie and giving Bonnie the toys. But if you're like, but like, what do they mean 9 years before? Like, do they mean 9 years from like Andy going to college and giving Bonnie the toys, or do they mean 9 years from now? Like, I don't know how long they've been with Bonnie. Like, maybe a year, because there were a few shorts made out of it, right? So maybe like a year and a half or something, 2 years maybe. So they mean like 9 years from that point, because like Andy's still a kid in the flashback, so it must be 9 years from Andy going to college and leaving the toys with Bonnie, right? Like, let me know if I'm looking too deep into this, and let me know if I missed anything. But like, I don't really understand what they mean there. But yeah, I think that's all the negatives I have to talk about. Like, it's very funny. There's a lot of clever jokes. It's really enjoyable. The emotions are there, but to me, maybe not to all other people, but to me, they felt a little rushed past. In terms of the Lego sets, I don't think a ton of them were accurate. I think that a lot of the builds were actually accurate, but they were just scaled down. Um, and I don't know if I'm going to be picking up any other Lego sets from the wave. Like, I really want to get some of them, but I'm probably going to wait for them to go on sale. Like, maybe I'll order the figures on Bricklink, because I just really want the minifigures. I don't need those sets taking up room, because I got the Woody and RC set, so I don't know if I need... I just want to get the minifigures, really, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I think the video's been going on for like 13 minutes. I'm just trying to remember if there's anything else I want to talk about, because I think I've talked about everything. Um, it's a movie. I guess wrapping it up, my concluding thoughts on the film. I'm sorry I didn't talk about Toy Story 2 and 3. By the way, I just didn't have time. I had a really busy week. If you know the Blue Jays, they're a Canadian baseball team. I had to sing the national anthems at a Blue Jays game with a choir of mine, so that was fun. Um, but yeah, so I've had a lot of things I've been doing in the past few weeks, but it's getting into summer, so I have a lot of free time now. Yeah, I think that's it. For what I wanted to talk about with Toy Story 4. In conclusion, I think it's better than Toy Story 1, but not better than 2 or 3. Like I say, if I had to rank them, number 1 would be Toy Story 3, number 2 would be Toy Story 2, number 3 would be Toy Story 4, and then number 4 would be Toy Story 1. Um, it's very enjoyable. It's a good job. It does a good job at being, a heartwarming, cozy, fun, and funny summer movie. It's a feel-good movie, I guess you would say, but I don't think it lives up to the legacy of the original 3. Um, and if they want to continue the series, they can, but it'll never really be, I think, what the original was. But um, it's a very it's a weird movie to me, but I enjoyed myself watching it. I think it does a much better job at being what it is than Incredibles 2 did. And I'm gonna give it an A minus. In case you're wondering, my original rating for Incredibles 2 is like an A minus. I'd probably give that movie like a C or something. But anyway, yeah. Anything else to? Oh yeah, music's great. There's a lot of little musical cues that I recognized throughout the movie. Then you'll probably recognize as well from the original 3 films. I think that's all I have to talk about. You guys let me know what you think of Toy Story 4. What's your rating? Like, if it's like a out of 10 number or a letter grade. whatever your thoughts are on Toy Story 4, let me know them all in the comments, and what you thought of my review as well. And I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.